What's up, everyone? It's your girl, Crystal. I wanted to first take this moment to say thank you to everyone who congratulated and shared their love and support when I recently posted that my husband and I and our baby girl, Reagan, are expecting another child this August. We truly appreciate it, and we are so happy. We're having a baby boy. I am going into my 6 months of pregnancy. And so I wanted to put that out there first. Second, there's a reason why I decided to do this video. When I first found out that I was pregnant, something just kept on tugging at my heart to share my story. And to be honest, I really wasn't sure if I was comfortable enough to do it. But as my pregnancy progressed and thinking about the past, I just felt that it was needed, not only to help me and to get a lot off of my shoulders, but to also help others that have been through the same situation I have and may not have had a voice or just felt right to even say anything. But it is also to make aware to those who don't know and need to know the effects that it has specifically on a woman, but also the effects on family. So I'm going to share my story. There's a purpose in it, so please bear with me. There's no script. This is straight off of my head. But here I go. So this is my 4th pregnancy. I'll start out by saying, when you're ready to have a family, you are ready. And my husband and I made that decision. After we were married, we decided that it was time to have children. And when we found out we were pregnant, of course, all sorts of great things go through your mind. You know, future thoughts of your child, what you could do as a parent, you know, all great things in your head. You never have those negative thoughts, especially when you're preparing to build that family. So, of course, we were ecstatic. And to see on the ultrasound the baby's heartbeat is something undescribable. To know that you have another human growing within you and you have another heartbeat beating within you is just something so amazing. On the particular day that I'll never forget, I was at work and something just did not feel right. So I immediately called the doctor and was on hold, which felt like eternity. And finally, when I was able to get a hold of somebody, I was able to go in and met my husband there. And we got the dreadful news after looking at the ultrasound that there was no longer a heartbeat. At that moment, there's nothing to say. And there's that possible thought of denial, which I was going into almost immediately. The doctor speaking, it almost felt like going in and out. He was telling me the process of the miscarriage and trying to schedule when to see the doctor the very next morning. But that evening I was scheduled to teach an exercise class, and I had made that decision to go teach because I did not want to stay home. I didn't know how to deal with it. So I went and taught a class to get my mind away from the negative thoughts that I was having. And after teaching that class, I headed out to my car. As soon as I got outside, it started pouring down rain. The sun was out, and I looked up in the sky, and there was 2 rainbows. And I just broke down crying. My faith is that the Lord will never leave me or forsake me. And I knew that it was a promise from God that he had something great in store in the future. That night, my husband and I just held hands as tight as we could until I fell asleep. And then we headed to the doctor's that very next morning. Fast forward, after that miscarriage and that experience, it had brought both my husband and I even closer together, the support that we had for one another. Second pregnancy, I found out that progesterone levels, especially in the first trimester, were very low, and that there was a possible chance that I could lose the baby if I did not increase my progesterone levels. So I did everything I could, working with the doctor to make that happen, and made it into the second trimester. And something crazy happened. My placenta tore, and I was at home at that time, and I fell to my knees because I knew something didn't feel right, and just started crying. We called the doctor, and they told us to get to the hospital immediately, and my husband and I just held hands as we made our way to the hospital, just praying. We got to the hospital. They placed a band around my wrist that read miscarriage, and once they saw us to the back room, they took us to get an ultrasound, and lo and behold, there was a heartbeat and a baby moving. That baby is our baby girl, Reagan. It was a true blessing. She is our rainbow baby. That moment when I saw the rainbows in the sky, the sun shining with the rain, that's how I put her name together, Reagan. She is our ray of sunshine. A true blessing to us. So that second pregnancy, even though it was a little rocky in the beginning, we made it through. Third pregnancy, when we found out we were pregnant, of course, excited. But I'm going to be honest, when you've had a miscarriage and you've had a little rockiness in the pregnancies, you feel or think doubts at some point because you're scared. Sometimes you don't want to have to go through that experience again. And they did test and found out my progesterone levels were again low. And again, I did everything that I could to get those progesterone levels up. And unfortunately, we lost the baby in the third pregnancy. At that time, you go numb. And but by the grace of God, the gift that we had was our baby girl, Reagan, with us to keep us smiling and keep our heads up. And we made it through. Now the fourth pregnancy, we're in, like I said, 6 months of pregnancy, and keeping prayer strong. Our faith has stayed grounded. Yes, there has been some ups and downs. This pregnancy was rocky as well, but we try to stay as positive as we can. Now, to say all of that, sharing my story of those pregnancies, in between those lines, there were some times that, especially those miscarriages that I went through, some unwarranted advice, or those who meant well, but what they said really didn't help out the situation. Those are the effects that sometimes you don't want to relive, because still to this day, there's moments when I have my cry times thinking about the what ifs and what could have been with the first and third pregnancy. But, you don't want to think too much about it and think of what you already have. And there was moments where, people who don't even know you, but you see from time to time would say, you're looking a little bigger, or just straight out, are you pregnant? Without you even saying anything, and how do you, respond to that. There's some people who can laugh it off or smile and deal with it, later on in their own time. And there's some people who will snap off. I have a sense of humor or whatnot. I'm not Superwoman, but there are times where I felt hurt when people would just pop up and ask, "Are you pregnant?" And I had just lost a child. And sometimes it got to the point where I would have to tell them the situation, and I felt bad because they then felt bad after telling them the situation. And not only those things happening to me, but I've seen it firsthand with other women who were at the time pregnant, and somebody saying something to them. And there's a lot of women who may have weight issues, who may have been struggling with weight or whatnot, and some of the things that some people say just don't help at all. And people need to know that sometimes it's best not to just say anything. If the other person feels or deems necessary to talk to you about a certain situation, then that's when the situation or the conversation will open up. Otherwise, there's no need to bring it up. And I'm not just talking about pregnancy. I'm talking about, other situations where there's a death in the family, or just something happening in your life at that time, and people may be able to tell, but instead of leaving it alone and waiting for that person to say something to you, you end up saying something to them, and it makes the situation a lot worse. I know that there was a picture that went viral somewhat recently, and I believe it was the photo of the burrito family photo or whatnot, and it, I guess, sparked a little controversy. I had read comments on there, some people saying people need to lighten up, it's just a sense of humor and whatnot. And the way that I look at it is, yes, for that person making that comment, it may be easy for them to say that. But if they've never been in a situation for a family who has lost a child, or who has recently just went through a miscarriage, and they really hoped for starting that family, or they even have visions of that first time having a family portrait done, yes, that hurts. Everybody's going to perceive a picture differently and have their own opinions about it, but you can't speak for everybody and tell somebody else to lighten up if you've never walked in their shoes. And that's my purpose in sharing this video. Sometimes you just have to watch what you say, and instead of, thinking you're saying the right thing, just be a little bit more caring. Think before you say, and because you just never know what that person has been through, and it just makes it a lot easier in somebody's journey. Because like I said, if somebody says something to me that was unwarranted, and I really don't want to have to think about reliving that past or having to think about it, it makes it all the better if somebody just not say anything at all. But I wanted to send that message out, and let's just all love one another and try to make a good conversation with it. Pregnancy is not a condition, it's a blessing, and it's a wonderful thing. And so I hope that I've helped somebody out there. I feel a lot better sharing it, and I will keep you guys posted with this pregnancy. God is good, and I thank you guys for taking the time to listen to my story. All right, I will see you guys soon. Peace.